Welcome in. If this is the first time you're joining one of my long form videos, this is video number three that I've made for breakdowns on YouTube or anywhere else. And this one is going to be, instead of my other two, how I focused on like officer involved shooting breakdowns, this is just going to be a breakdown of a different kind of event that happened. And this happened in the city of Chicago, where they essentially elected to get rid of a technology called ShotSpotter. So this has been blowing up in my feed the past 2 or 3 days, and it's impossible to not have noticed because Illinois politics and just Illinois in general is pretty much dictated and run by Chicago. So almost everything that happens in Illinois somehow comes back to Chicago, and so this has been just all over my Twitter/X feed the past 2 or 3 days. So I wanted to talk about it because it's just the stupidity, the absolute sheer stupidity of this decision. It feels like it needs to be addressed and needs to be dove into even further. So the past like 2 to 3 days that this has been happening, I started going down a rabbit hole and I started looking at all of the arguments and all of the articles and stuff like that for this technology of ShotSpotter, and I'm gonna show you some of the things that was talked about and why I think this is the dumbest thing that Chicago could have done. But it's no big surprise since it Chicago has a long track record of voting for stupidity and just continually voting for stupidity as far as policing and crime and things like that. I mean, Chicago voted. Well, I shouldn't say Chicago. Cook County reelected Kim Fox, and Kim Fox was the infamous prosecutor for the Jussie Smollett case, amongst many others. But that was one of her things that she got nationally known for, was her incompetence with that. So we're gonna take a little dive today into the world of ShotSpotter, and I'm gonna try and limit it to 20 minutes because anything more than that is just kind of pointless. But if for some reason this video does good or people have more questions or something like that, I will be more than happy to make a follow up video. I will do another follow up video somewhat related to this in the future, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, this is going to be the first page that I am going to bring up. So this kind of describes they had some kind of community meeting about the technology surrounding ShotSpotter, and where members of the community could come in and voice their concerns about it. And it was pretty funny because it actually got like out of hand with activists on one side and people talking common sense on the other. And so this is I don't know who this is. Let's see who this is. This is the Attorney General that conducted an investigation, who absolutely does not know how to read numbers, and it's very clear that they're using these insane, stupid statistics to skew their narrative and to go along with it. So let's take a listen right here.
Identified certain offenses which were gun crime related.
Good crime related.
The percentage of dispatched responses which were coded out as a disposition as related to one of those crimes. We found that that rate was about 9%. In about
So we're going to stop right there. She's saying that 9% of calls that came out for ShotSpotter related or ended with cops finding something, either arresting somebody, stopping somebody, and asking somebody, a stop and frisk, if you will. But it's not called a stop and frisk in Chicago. It's called an investigatory stop. And uh, evidence, shell casings, or probably more than likely, or if a number was pulled for some kind of criminal damage or things like that. That's what they're encompassing all of this. So they're saying in 9% of the cases of ShotSpotter alerts, then that's when police found evidence of a shooting. Okay, let's go.
about 9% of responses to a ShotSpotter alert They were coded out. They were reported as resolved, having to do with a gun-related crime about 9% of the time.
Reported as resolved. That doesn't even make sense.
One more question.
Reported as resolved.
Your report says that CPD responses to ShotSpotter alerts rarely
This is Anthony Driver, the head of this community commission.
produce evidence of a gun crime or a gun-related crime, investigatory stop, or recovery of a firearm. But it also later in the report talks about CPD got evidence of a gun-related offense in 4,556 cases. So
4,556 cases is 9%. And watch the insane amount of backtracking that this chick's about to do, or the spin, I should say.
I guess I'm just we're trying to understand the nuance there and what you were trying to get across in that particular point.
So that 4,000 number, that's about 9% of the total ShotSpotter responses over the period of our inquiry. So we looked at data from the beginning of 2020 through the middle of 2021.
The beginning of 2020 through the middle of 2021, and 4,500 was 9% of the events. So real basic dumb person math, it's about 50,000 events, because 4,500 times 10, that would be, that would be 45,000 plus another 9,000. So like 52,000. About 52,000 events for ShotSpotter. 4,500 of them, police had some kind of outcome.
There were just over 51,000 dispatch responses to ShotSpotter alerts, and about 4,500 of those were coded out as related to a gun-related crime. So that's where the 9% number.
Got you.
As related to a gun-related crime.
This is actually just a personal question for me. As I'm just a citizen who's not like a data person, I'm trying to understand.
He asked this question really weird.
I've had an incident where my neighbor fired a gun in the air. I think I've talked about this publicly before.
We're going to talk about this.
He ran in the house. And then
fired the gun right in the house.
I park my car, go inside, I look out the window, and I see the police pull up, and the guy comes back out and sits on the porch, and the cop is like, "Hey, have you did you hear anything? Did you see anything?" Now I know he just shot his gun, as Nathan mentioned. He was just shooting his gun in the air at 4 p.m. But the cop just drove off.
Right?
But what I saw was that it was a good chance he would have just kept playing with his gun if the police didn't pull up. Yeah. How would something like that show up in the data or in the numbers of your report?
It wouldn't.
Or is that like do you view that as maybe a positive or a negative outcome?
It wouldn't.
That's a great question. And I think it gets to the fact that data is an imperfect way to capture police response and public safety response. The conclusion in our report is that the data we analyzed did not demonstrate an operational benefit of the use of ShotSpotter.
So what kind of ridiculous spin is that, where he just used a very clear example of saying, hey, a guy, my next door neighbor, shot off a round, which more than likely he was referring to afterwards, that ShotSpotter inferred that a round went off over there because a cop showed up and said, hey, did you hear any gunshots? And the guy's like, no. And the cop left. The whole point of his questioning was to say, hey, is this going to reflect in your numbers somehow? Because if the cop just leaves and comes up and says, yeah, nothing happened here, and that's it, and they keep saying coding because Chicago cops use a code system to like disregard calls or to close them out. So if he codes it out and there's no evidence because the cop didn't find shell casings, nothing, that means that's part of the 91% of events where even though ShotSpotter accurately recorded the shot, it's not going to come up as being beneficial. And yet at the end, she still says that there's no operational benefit for detecting shots. It's absolutely so stupid. I don't even know. I don't even know how to keep going with this. So here's like the basic article. So this happened yesterday, and it says Chicago will not renew ShotSpotter contract. Alderman sound off. So the aldermen are pissed about it. The Chicago will end its contract Friday, which they announced on Tuesday. So what's today? Math. Today's Wednesday. So the contract with Sound Thinking, which owns ShotSpotter, expires Friday. The technology will be decommissioned on September 22nd. So Chicago, I don't know if that's when their contract goes through, because it says it expires on Friday, but they're gonna push it through September 22nd. I don't know how that is possible. And then until it's decommissioned, they'll suggest recommendations on other tools and programs to reduce violence. Yeah, because that helps. What are they gonna do? Have more freaking what are they called? Violence interrupters. Yeah, that's really worked in Chicago. Violence interrupters. Uh, this is very misleading. Was running across, he said he would cancel the city's $33 million contract with Sound Thinking. It's not $33 million a year. It's $33 million over the lifetime of the contract, which was like 3 or 4 years. So extremely misleading. But of course, it's politics. So why wouldn't they be misleading? So this is the IG report. That was the chick that just was giving her report for the IGs. That was the woman we just heard speaking about her report, although that meeting was like 2 days ago. It also questions the quality of the officers' responses to alerts. It's insane. Saying it puts officers on scene far faster. Yeah, no shit. Expanded response and all that. And I don't know. Okay. So this is just going on and on, getting people's opinions about how it's a bad decision, yada, yada, yada. So, before we go into this, here's my explanation of ShotSpotter. It's very simple. ShotSpotter itself is just a technology, it's microphones like this that triangulates where a shot possibly came from, and then that way police can get there faster. That's it. That's the whole technology. That is all of it. And yet it has been blown out of proportion into this insanity about police surveilling the community and all this other nonsense excuses to get rid of a tool that police can respond to shootings faster and hopefully catch offenders, because that's a no word apparently in Chicago, is actually catching criminals. And that's where the root of this comes in. So this article is what ShotSpotter, what to know after the city decides not to renew the contract. Okay, so what should we know? Let's see. Bringing an end to the technology's use. So it began 2012. It's been in Chicago for 12 years. 12. And now they're saying, oh, well, it doesn't really work. Yes, it does. Triangulates gunfire with information related to police within 60 seconds. Yep, according to the company's website. Okay, so here's that 89% bullshit again. Find no gun-related crime, and 86% turned up no crime at all. Because here's a real hot take, and here's the truth. With this, if there was one round that goes off and ShotSpotter detects one round, and nobody is shot, and there's no damage to any property, so there's no bullet holes in a car or bullet hole in a window, how long do you expect officers to actually look for a shell casing? Because at that point, what does it matter? You're going to find a shell casing, you're going to inventory back at the station. And that's it. It's going to sit in purgatory forever. And maybe at some point it'll get tested because they'll like correlate it to a gun. But if that gun's never recovered, who cares? It's insane that's what they're hanging their hat on, is saying that, oh, well, 86% turned up no crime at all. Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a good thing? Because a lot of these arguments is that this is causing police to race to the area and then illegally stop people for firearms, and then cutting them loose. Okay, so here's the real reason. Now we're going to get down to the real thing that kicked this off. Here it comes. Citing incidents like the fatal police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo in 2021. That's what all of this is really, really about. And I'll make a whole nother video of that. But Adam Toledo was a Latin King gangbanger who was out at 2:30 in the morning, who got shot and killed by Chicago police because they were him and another person were shooting at rival cars, or what they suspected was rival cars. And then the Chicago police officer saw him. He ran with the gun in his hand, and within a fraction of a second, he turned towards the cop, and the cop shot him once in the chest and killed him. But this whole thing is because ShotSpotter did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it went off for like 16 rounds or however many rounds was discharged, and cops made it there, and they found two people right where the ShotSpotter said that there was gunshots at 2:30 in the morning. So yeah, it did its job. And now activists are, oh well, a kid got killed, and they're trying to spin that angle, which is insane. So yeah, likely pleasing much of the progressive voter base that paved his way to the office. So they're even hinting that he's pandering to his base. Cool. Blast. These are some aldermen blasting the decision. Okay, see, here it comes again. According to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, ShotSpotter led to arrests in just 1% of approximately 12,000 incidents. Yeah, because when people are shot on the ground, you're not looking to arrest anybody. That's a secondary function. But what it does do, Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and you should know this, but they don't care because Kim Foxx is so anti-police. It's disgusting. What the Cook County State's Attorney fails to say here is that Cook County State's attorneys look for any excuse to not prosecute the crimes. And when you have, let's say, a shooter or somebody that discharged a firearm, it's an additional tool shown going in court saying, hey, judge, hey, jury, here's the ShotSpotter report confirming that X amount of rounds were fired in this area where this guy was caught with a gun, and on top of gunshot residue and things like that. And then you find shell casings that correlate to the gun. That's all stuff that is not said. Like, what you should do, Cook County State's Attorney, you should correlate, or Chicago themselves, correlate how many people were shot and how many of those popped off on ShotSpotter. Go ahead and correlate that, because I bet you that number is upwards of 70-80% guaranteed. Guaranteed. So let's look up another thing. So I'm thinking this is just the website that does this. Here's an interesting tidbit. Here's ShotSpotter's they're a publicly traded company, and here's their stock. Went from about $20 to $17 once Chicago canceled their stock. So that's kind of interesting. So with the last couple minutes here, let's go down the rabbit hole and let's just look. Here, ShotSpotter. Let's see what people have to say about ShotSpotter. This is just a video showing this is what it looks like on ShotSpotter, the geolocation. Look at all of these one rounds. One round, one round, one round. That's a 19 rounder. Let's listen to this one. Yeah, that's totally inaccurate. Completely inaccurate. Let's see. This is all from a couple news sources talking about this. Let's see people commenting about ShotSpotter. This is obviously a Chicago cop. ShotSpotter detects gunshots quickly and accurately. We use it and have caught drive-bys within 2 minutes. It goes off of sounds physically impossible to target minorities with it. Because this is what people are spinning towards. It's just, this is a dispatcher for Chicago. ShotSpotter is an amazing tool, and countless lives have been saved because of it. One of the worst policy decisions I've ever seen someone make. This is an alderman just crushing the narrative of ShotSpotter. I want to see some of the people that are celebrating this, because they're here. Where is it? Because these are all people actually agreeing with ShotSpotter. because there are some very very wild takes. So some of the takes that I've heard are it costs too much money, which is literally laughable, laughable that the city of Chicago is talking about, or people are talking about the city of Chicago wasting money on things. And then let's see, I wish I could find better examples here because there are just people lauding ShotSpotter um with this cancellation. But here's some of crazy the crazy things I've heard is number one, it's cost too much money. Number two, that it creates a police surveillance state with pods and microphones because these super secret gunshot detection microphones are very very bad, and it causes police to over police minority neighborhoods and stop and frisk people and all of this other stuff. Absolutely insane. Oh, here it goes. Oh, 43,000 versus 10. Oh man. Okay. So I really wish I could find a better. Oh, here you go. Thanks, Mayor Johnson. This is an alderman. I applaud the grassroots organizers, whatever, who the Stop Shot Spotter campaign, huh? Here it goes. Here it goes. Here's the real grifters. Oh no, ShotSpotter's ending means the clearance rate for the gun violence. It doesn't clear gun violence. It doesn't stop gun violence. It helps cops find offenders. That's what it does. That's what it does. That's what it does. Man, are we really just okay? This Twitter page is a whole bunch of hot garbage. Okay, here's a good one. This will be the last thing. What does that mean? Instead of the money for ShotSpotter is in the Office of Public Safety Accountability budget, like license plate readers and other forms of surveillance for CPD's use. CPD is a spoiled monster that secretly gets millions of dollars and whatever it wants from everyone. Oh yeah, that's a good talking point. Former budget director. Okay, please, true police budget total is that. Okay, who cares? He has a chance to change how the mayor's office speaks to Chicagoans. ShotSpotter has taught us how secretive the city and police are. It has taught us how the city stretches the budget to cover the cost of surveillance and policing. And then they receive emergency money. Okay. Here's the in summary, because we're running a little long here. That all of these activist groups actually were successful with shooting down a widely used technology in the city of Chicago that you couldn't find a single officer in that city that would talk bad about ShotSpotter. In what world does it make sense that there's a technology that may help officers respond faster to a crime scene where people may be shot, and in a secondary effect of that is they might actually be able to catch people that did these shootings. And there are whole groups out there that are saying that this is a bad thing, that it's a waste of money, and that they're glad that Chicago got rid of another tool for officers to actually catch criminals. It is mind blowing, dumb, and insane. And hopefully, I got my point across without going on too big of a rant. But thank you guys for listening. And if you guys want to see more of this, please let me know in the comments or whatever places right there, or to there, or there, wherever the comments may be. But thank you guys, whoever actually listened to this. I know it ran a little long, but that's okay. And I will definitely be making another video about the Adam Toledo shooting, since that kickstarted this whole Chicago and ShotSpotter event. But take care. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in, whoever was watching. Take care.